Well, good morning. You know, it's interesting. We all must be hockey fans in here because you seem pretty excited about a good fight. And so I think that certainly testing is going to be very exciting. We might change the name to the good, the bad, and the other just to get you all excited and riled up also. However, we all agree that testing's a good thing, and that's why we're here. So what we hope to do is take you to beyond the basics. Real quickly, what we want to do is certainly introduce our panel, and I'll introduce myself. I'm Phil Davis, and I'm with Rapleaf. I'm a managing director for Rapleaf, and we provide data attached to email and help you get more insights. Why don't you all do a quick introduction? They're going to give you the who, the what, the where, and the why are they qualified to be on this panel.
My name is George DeGuido. I'm Vice President of Email Marketing with Zeta Interactive. We're a digital marketing service agency with email platform to deploy campaigns on behalf of our customers. Why I am qualified? Well, I just love testing and I love talking, so it seemed like a good fit.
My name is Mike Hodds with Responses. So I run strategic services for the eastern half of the U.S. And why I'm qualified, again, I love testing, but I think that's part of our job as well, is to help our clients get better. And really, as we said, how do we show our customers we care? And testing is the way to do that. Get it really honed in, what's relevant.
Hi, my name is Rachel Kesselman. I'm with FedEx. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. And I'm here today on the panel because I help co-manage the email platform for FedEx, and one of the things I'm responsible for is process, specifically with guiding and getting our marketing professionals who are deploying email campaigns to do more creative testing, as well as really just evangelize our platform and getting the right targets, the right audience, and getting better responses all the way through additional conversions besides just the open and click rates.
I'm Eric Tang. I work at Medscape from WebMD. I'm the marketing manager for the email department. Why I'm qualified to be here, I think I could drink more than anybody in my department. No, I'm kidding. I'm just somebody who's immersed in a lot of the data and just want to make sense of it so I can figure out the best way we can give our subscribers the best user experience.
Great, and I was not qualified, so they made me the moderator. So one of the things I want to remind the audience, certainly your collective knowledge of this topic probably exceeds our collective knowledge, and so should you want to add anything, have a question, let's not wait till the end. Feel free to, certainly jump in, and someone's running around with mics, so that's great. But when we kick off, let's start with you, Eric, since you were so highly qualified last night. Let's start with, so what are some of the testing practices that's helped bring really significant returns?
We've done a multitude of testing. I mean, we always try to figure out the best way to get our emails to be the best user experience possible. I mean, from list segmentation, which is a very successful testing practice of ours. I mean, we kind of gather intelligence from a multitude of different sources, try to figure out, all right, well, if one of our subscribers kind of reads an article from a topic that's not necessarily what they subscribe to, we want to be able to provide them some of that content in various emails. So, I mean, we've used that strategy for a lot of our subscribers. It's been very successful for us. I mean, with Morgan, we've actually used Morgan to help us out with a couple of multivariate testing, and the results were astounding at the increase in response metrics.
Great. So as a publisher, though, let's think about your results, because they might differ from other people's in the room.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little about what you mean by a positive result.
Well, I mean, for some people here, you guys are tracking ROI and conversion rates. I mean, for us, we're a news organization, we're a publisher. So, I mean, bottom line is our metrics are based on how many page views, how many clicks that we get on our emails, which may differ from FedEx or some retail. I mean, you guys want to see return on your dollars. For us, it's more, okay, how many people visited the article, how many people clicked on it. I mean, it changes and it varies between industry.
Great. Mike, so you see lots of clients and have an opportunity to see the kind of practices that bring returns. What are some of the interesting things you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing is really, as you mentioned, always have like a goal for the email. What do you want to achieve from that test? I'm amazed at how many people focus and still focus on the open and the click. I don't think anybody who's in this room probably do that, but many do. And that's not really predictive. Like, are you going to sell something? Are they going to take that action that they take? So really think about first, what is that purpose from it? And that's something that we always kind of talk from that perspective. Then it's starting to do testing, I mean, around creative. So really thinking about images on, images off. Like, does something resonate with one segment and not another? So don't throw something out from that perspective. But those are the things, is really getting more advanced. It's a lot of clients you start, and it's like, yes, we've been doing testing. It's been subject line testing, and they've been doing it for years and years and years, and nobody records it anywhere. Nobody remembers what they did from time to time. So it's really, what can you get more sophisticated? You know, how can you get more that's going to move the needle segment by segment?
Very good. I think we got an opportunity to jump in. You said a lot there, actually. So we got a lot to jump into. Sort of, you know, how do you learn from past experiences? Really, isn't testing and optimization the same thing? It's just ongoing testing, and you should learn from everything you're doing. And so we'll jump into that in a little bit. Rachel, you know, as you think about insights that you gain from testing, what are some of the factors that you consider that go beyond, you know, the things that we've been testing for a while, like optimizing its creative, copy, time of day, day of week, frequency, list segments? What are you doing beyond that?
So we are definitely trying to move beyond just the creative development. I mean, we're currently, like Mike mentioned, it's mandatory to do subject line testing for all of our campaigns, but since we have such a mixture of just promotional messages as well as awareness that are more brand oriented, we have to try various different things. We've learned there's really no magic bullet when you're trying to optimize your creative. So what we do is we're looking beyond just the click-throughs and open rates and looking at our web analytics and making sure people are thinking holistically about their campaign, about how they're driving traffic to their web page. I think Alan mentioned this yesterday when he was talking about direct mail, and one of our mantras from our executive management is to really look at the campaign as a whole, with the direct mail, with the social, with the email all as one, and how you're optimizing and testing the creative all together. Because when you're starting that at the beginning, it makes it a lot easier to create the creative and do different creative testing. Once you're trying to log jam it towards the end, you kind of pigeonhole yourself and you're just trying to deploy and execute. So we're really trying to be a little bit more thoughtful about that, and determine on the front end, create a testing plan like at the front end saying, what is your conversion that you're trying to achieve? So in our case, it's like trying to achieve creating a label or sending somebody into FedEx office to use our printing service or purchase a product at the store. So we try to really focus on that conversion and take that in consideration with the click-through. So we're seeing some really positive results. We've started doing this a lot more within the last 6 months, and we've really been following through, and it takes it to the next level. We're also, the one other thing that we're doing is we've been using Opinion Lab, which is a voice of customer like survey metrics. It's real time that we've been including in the emails, either in creative display ads within the email as well as hyperlinks, to really get that voice of customer, and that adds on to the web analytics as well as to the click-through and open rates to really just take it to that next level and see what the customers actually think about the creative, and that can help change and define how you test in the future.
Great, great. So George, I know you see a lot of clients also. Mm-hmm. So what are some of the other factors that your clients are optimizing for?
So a lot of what we do with our clients is help them move past the strict open and click-through metrics that they're getting from our platform, help them drive past that click. What are people doing once they land on your page? Is it optimized for conversion? Are they viewing your content on a mobile device? Are they then clicking through on that mobile device? And what does your mobile presence look like? And does it align with the conversions that you're leading them to off of that email? The other piece of that is, now that social's made its emergence, email offers a great opportunity for you to define what content you want your recipients to share within their social networks. So providing more strategic insight on where to place social share links, not just at the bottom of the creative, not just at the top of the creative, but putting it within the content so that you lead them to share that content with their networks. It's a perfect vehicle for you to then say, this is the message that I want you to share, and provide them with a mechanism to do that. So we're doing a lot of tracking around social usage and then mobile optimization.
I think it's something that a lot of folks are thinking about. So what you're saying is you're going beyond just the social button, right?
Exactly.
Can you tell a little more about that?
Well,
I think it's really probably relevant to a lot of folks here.
Yeah, it ties back to what Morgan was saying about relevancy and not so much relevancy, but showing that you care. And doing that is if you provide content that provides value to your recipients, they're going to want to share that with others who might take that same perceived value and receive benefit from that. They're your best engaged customers. So you want to provide them the opportunity. You don't want to present barriers. You don't want them to mislabel what you've provided in your content. So give them the tools within that email to then share your message with their networks and spread that word of mouth. Word of mouth messaging is hugely effective when you're talking about promotion. Friends love what their friends say. They take value, they trust. So if you can get your recipients to share with their friends, it's just going to go leaps and bounds for your conversions and your metrics.
I mean, one of our clients' philosophy is doing that right now. They're really tagging who do they consider to be social influencers. They've been tagging on that, and actually with their friends and family offers that they do regularly, they actually put another component. It's a dynamic component that encourages people to share. So that's testing we've been doing lately too, to see is that getting that word of mouth out there and expanding it by doing that based on just assuming not and seeing, and they've been seeing significant lift because you're getting that value of that network.
So Mike, and I think even Eric spoke about this, maybe even Rachel a little bit, but you're actually building a segment based on actions.
Absolutely.
Right? And so how effective has that been? I mean,
oh, it's been very effective. We also use it, I mean, social influencers is something we identified. We also, and I think Eric, you mentioned it too, like categorization of content. So it's like figuring out what somebody's in the market for something. So past purchase is one behavior, but determining what they're clicking on an email, categorizing that in a certain category, and using that as a follow-up. So if somebody's engaged, increase the cadence and test that. Is that more effective to get the conversion? If they're not engaged, like maybe take the cadence down a bit and go with your best offer. But those are the kind of tests that we've been doing with a lot of clients and seeing big time return on that, large increases in conversion.
Very good. Great. So, it's interesting when you talk about testing these days, it can be really overwhelming, right? I mean, you've got, again, we named 100 different things you could test on. Where should the button go? What color should things be? How should it render? Subject line, creative, copy, time of day, right? There's just so many different things for us to consider. And then you got all these triggers. And it's making our jobs a little more difficult. And frankly, at the end of the day, someone comes back and says, well, wait a second, this one just clicked better. Let's keep running with it, right? So it comes back to technologies. Michael, what are some of the technologies that marketers can really depend on to help with the testing process?
Sure. I mean, and I think most ISPs have this, but the first thing is make sure that you can really allocate across and really do as A/B split, making sure you have the opportunity. So it's really easy to do that split as well as also representative of both sides. So that's the first piece and just the basics. But then beyond that, it's also reporting. So you want to look from a segment point of view as well. So not just a plain A/B split, how did A versus B, but also look at A and B versus by segment as well and look at that reporting too, because B might resonate with certain segments that are key segments for you, but overall A is the winner. So you're going to get learnings out of from both of those sides. Another piece, and it's something that we just recently added to responses, so it's like winner selection automated, and that's really helping with our drip programs. So you can actually test each of your different iterations, each of your messages in the drip, and continually optimize based on conversion or open and click or even unsubscribes if you want to do it from that perspective, and then optimize each of those elements and just continually roll and optimize. That's how you're going to improve those programs over time.
Very good. Great. Anything to add to that?
Well, I think there's been a lot of talk, and Bob mentioned it earlier, about big data. And the amount of data that you have and you can receive about your recipients is enormous. And I think it overwhelms a lot of marketers on where to start. They have data in multiple places, disparate databases, and the challenge is really how to bring that data together to get a good view of the customer. I think ESPs, services like Trendline have the capabilities to help you bring all of that data together so that you can influence your testing by doing advanced analytics on those databases, creating personas, creating messaging streams so that you can use data to help influence what your test panels and what your creative looks like. So really going beyond just, okay, how does my creative look? I'm testing creative, getting out of that black box and then looking really at your data to help drive that testing pattern.
Sure. So one of the challenges you run into is as you test out creative and other creative elements, and if you go general A/B, you say, this one's better than the other one, you might be throwing, the baby out with the bathwater, because you might have a segment that really performs great with the lower overall performing program. And that's where data comes in. So maybe Rachel, Eric, how do you all maybe bring in data into the formula?
We look at the data to really understand what the customer's doing. But sometimes there's like I said, there's no real magic bullet, because one campaign may perform very well, and it's, you're targeting the same segment again, and it doesn't perform the same with the creative. It just depends on the target and what you're messaging to them. We've seen in cases specifically where sometimes it's very brand affinity will create a high click rate, high open rate, and a high conversion. And then sometimes it's less of the brand affinity and who you're partnering with in the email. So again, I think it just depends. We look at it, but we have to continuously push and promote testing even when we think we've done it enough.
And for us, I mean, with the multivariate testing that we did with Trendline, I mean, we noticed a multitude of different things that people were responding to. I mean, one of the bigger things from the data that we gathered was that mobile optimization came into play, including branding in our header image and things of that nature. I mean, this is all intelligence that you should take and pretty much cater all your messaging around, because at the end of the day, I mean, only you know who your subscribers are and what they're looking at. And if you use that intelligence that you're gathering in a way where you're making the best user experience possible, I mean, your response metrics they're gonna reflect all the efforts that you're putting into it. So, I mean,
I like that you guys talked about earlier when we were just discussing about that you actually plan in advance for your testing. That's a lot of times where I think you should put as much care into your testing as you do in your creative or your list polls. I'm amazed at how many people, it's like testing as a box, and they're going through it. Oh, we're about to launch. Oh, we should test something, and try to figure it that way. And you guys mentioned working with Trendline or at FedEx, how you plan in advance, and that's something we highly recommend. Having a comprehensive test plan, think about how you're going to mail over the month or over the quarter, and actually plan those tests well in advance instead of trying to do that last minute.
Well, it's a great thought. So how many of you get copy from someone in creative and they say, here's your email campaign, now go test it? Does it happen that way? I see some hands raised, right? I mean, so one of the challenges is really having the email marketing work really closely with the folks in the creative team to make sure that you're not going to start with a campaign that really isn't taking advantage of all the lessons you've learned in the past.
Absolutely,
so
absolutely.
Certainly,
I mean,
we've talked about that as we prepped. So why don't you?
I mean, I actually think one of the challenges that we do have is that you have marketing coming up with these beautiful email messages, and they look really good, but they're not very practical from an email marketing standpoint. You have the designers creating this. You have all these nice pictures, but at the end of the day, some of it might not be relevant or practical for you as an email marketer. So, I mean, if we could all just kind of get together in a room at the point of creation to kind of figure out, all right, well, this is what we know works, and this is how we're going to carry out, whether it be use of a huge hero image or something like that. I mean, they can design the most beautiful emails, but it might not work at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying?
And our challenge, just to kind of add on to what Eric said, is really a lot of times I have marketers who come to me and they want to throw everything in the kitchen sink into their emails. And so they have 7 or 8 or 9 call to action buttons. And I have to say, really, what is your main point? What is your goal for this email? Is it to drive 1 action? Is it to drive 10 actions? You really need to let the email drive traffic to an optimized landing page and really get them to take the action you want to convert. Don't try to give them everything, because we're going to lose them on that. They'll open it and just be overwhelmed with a lot of information.
Absolutely, and that's a great example of 7 call to actions. First of all,
we cut it down to 2.
How do you even test them, right? And secondly, there's no way an email marketer wanted 7 call to actions. So that's fascinating. Rachel, let's go back for a moment and talk a little bit about. We all agree that one of the most effective email programs that you have is the opportunity to do confirmation emails. They get opened, they get saved, they even get printed and posted, because people want to make certain that the product they receive is what they got. They want to make sure they make their flight. They want to, They want to make sure their package is delivered. And so there's a lot of great real estate there. Now, you've put together a pilot program to optimize that experience?
Definitely. We've been working for the last 6 months and doing a transactional email pilot. I mean, it's important. When somebody wants their iPhone, they want their laptop, their tablet, they want to know when it's coming. So we've been transforming our old emails that are typewriter text-looking emails. Believe it or not, they're sort of HTML, but we've put them in this sort of our new look and feel, and we've added some promotional real estate. We're not opting people in to receive these continuously. It's not that. We're putting some display ads within the email. So we've been testing about 18 different offers rotating in, including the survey to get information about voice of customer through Opinion Lab, and it's been fantastic. We've, you're automatically getting a great open rate because it's something that people want to view. Most of the clicks still resonate with the transactional emails, but unfortunately, fortunately, we are seeing revenue being driven through label creation as well as account openings. So we've seen really good traction and awareness, and also our promotional offers as well. So it's been fantastic, and the opinions we've gotten have been fantastic so far, and they've given us definitely food for thought for future things that we want to do to improve, like creating, very similar to Delta, creating something where you can remove the ads if you want to print it and save ink, and requesting different preferences for future things. So it's going to be fantastic, and we're looking forward to continuing with that.
I think it's a huge opportunity for marketers that have transactional messaging to do exactly what Rachel's doing now with her pilot. It's astounding to me when I go and talk to clients and say, okay, what are your open rates? And they say, 25, 30%. I was like, that's great. What are your open rates and click-through rates on your transactional messaging? And they don't know. These messages are the ones that people open the most. They're getting 60, 70% open rates. They're being viewed. It's the perfect opportunity for you to test different offers. Yep. Don't go overboard. Don't go total promotional, because as Jordan will probably say, there's law or policy against how much of that messaging you can include in those messages. There's actually in can spam. But people expect you, if they transact with you, to have some type of dialogue, some type of communication within those messages. Put your images in there, put get rid of the typewriter, go full HTML. It's a perfect opportunity for you to get engagement within those messages.
You also don't realize how many times those are actually being forwarded to other people who may not be involved with your brand or your product, and they might find interest in what they're forwarding.
Right. It's interesting, companies like sites like OpenTable, where their confirmation email could get forwarded to 3 or 4 people that you're making a reservation with, have really spent a lot of time trying to perfect that email, and has some really actually great valuable information, including links to driving directions. So all of a sudden the email becomes a really great customer service and value add.
I would say B2B is another place where there's a lot of decision makers in that, and it's forwarded around that, hey, it's been ordered. And we have clients, e-commerce retailers as well as B2B, getting anywhere from like 3 to 8% of their revenue from email, just from transactional messages, putting in other offers, especially if you can make them relevant to what they had just purchased or behavior, what they're in the market for. It really ramps up that conversion. Just another reminder and get them to add more onto that order.
Very good. All right, let's take a shift for a moment. Certainly, we've had a lot of talk about the tablet. We've talked about mobile. So certainly with the use of the smartphone, George, let me go to you. How does that factor into some of the testing and the requirements associated with testing?
It's becoming more and more a huge part of what we do from a testing perspective. Morgan put up on the screen this morning a lot of statistics about mobile usage. I pulled some from ComScore. They just had a press release earlier this month. There are 234 million people in the U.S. using a mobile device. 104 million of those are smartphoned. We see rates of opens, anywhere between 25 and 50% of opens on a particular campaign are being viewed on a mobile device. So it's a huge part of the testing that we do to make sure that calls to actions, creative, are optimized for that mobile device, making sure that it's viewed on that 7.1, 3.1 inch screen, and that call to actions are clear and decisive, so that when a user opens that email, they scan it, they're clear on what exactly they need to do, and helps drive them to a landing page that's also optimized for that channel. It's amazing to me the emails that I get on my mobile device when I click through. For whatever reason, the site doesn't load, or I'm sent to a site that's not mobile optimized. I just click out, delete the email, and move on. And I'm sure a lot of you do the same. The opportunity lost, a great example of this is one of our clients is Citizen Watch. This last fourth quarter, we totally revamped their mobile page. From November to December 24th, they saw over 200,000 store locator requests to their mobile device driven by email and search. So you can just imagine the previous experience, someone going to that page that's not optimized, they lost 200,000 searches on their site. It's just, mobile optimization is going to be huge and is already a trend that we're paying attention to, but as smartphones become more easily accessible, it's just going to continue to grow.
We're seeing the same thing with some of the responses. Clients are testing really the responsive templates. Morgan had mentioned that before as well, but really making sure not only the email, but also the landing page really responds and is viewed properly. You're getting that main call to action, whether it's a smartphone or a tablet or through that desktop. Because we're seeing that shift that people are either reading on one or the other. They're not really making that shift between devices anymore. Have you guys done this? Or?
We actually, it's interesting, because being such a large company, we have our ESP Axiom that works with us, and we test in over 40 different environments to make sure that we're doing a job and things are looking mobile optimized. Unfortunately, since we don't control some of the website, we are kind of pigeonholed and working with our team to really work and optimize mobily. So it's been a slow process, but we're kind of moving forward on that, and I just can't wait for the future and how it turns out when we're completely moved over and optimized mobily on all the landing pages as well. But we try to work anything very specifically that are huge. Any new initiatives are definitely always mobile optimized.
And for us, mobile optimization is definitely one of the key strategies in 2012. I was kind of bummed that I didn't win a Kindle Fire like she did yesterday, because it was one of our big things, but all right, it's okay, I'm cool. But I mean, with Morgan, actually, he did mention earlier the media query, the design. We're definitely utilizing that, and we are seeing such a surge in how many physicians reach our content through their mobile device. I mean, from last year to now, the statistics are astounding. So we definitely recognize that our emails should I lost for words, should be optimized for your site, because we don't want to create 3 different emails for 3 different devices. So, I mean, the best way is to optimize the design and how it renders.
So just for a show of hands, how many of you out there are already optimizing content for mobile, or at least testing your content in mobile?
Do you mean optimizing in terms of making it friendly, or in terms of using either media queries or responsive design?
Let's start simple and just say friendly from a view perspective. Anybody out there using tools to do that? What sort of tools do you guys use to help you do that?
Use return path.
Return path?
Email rendering, and outlets it like others.
Great. Anybody else?
Does anybody use Litmus?
Very good. Good. So I think, again, because it wasn't complicated enough, we have to now, consider all the different devices and make certain the experience gets a little better. So we want to throw a few more variables. Let's shift for a moment. We talked a lot about the ROI and emails where we're expecting a return. Now, there also is a really great opportunity to leverage email for branding, as we all agree. And so when you do branding and awareness campaigns, which I think lots of publishers, frankly, so you work with a lot of publishers, Eric, you're a publisher. So when you think about your branding and awareness campaigns, what are you measuring? What are you looking at? What are you testing to really make certain that you're getting the best bang for the experience for your customers?
Again, I mean, a lot of people might disagree in here, but like for us, I mean, we're looking to get as many page views as we can. So if we're going to be introducing different branding elements into our emails, I mean, our rate of success is how many people are actually interacting and how many people are engaged with the email that we're sending. So I mean, obviously that changes for FedEx when they're sending out their messages, or retail, or I think, like we mentioned, we saw them speak yesterday, Chico's. It's really the measurement or the metrics that we're looking at is completely different.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for us, it's all about the content, right? So if you provide content that provides value, always thinking about the value proposition of the content that you're sending out to your audience, it's just going to help you boost engagement metrics. For us, working with our publishers, it's, again, getting people to the site, getting pages viewed, and really to do that, you need to provide engaging content that doesn't give it all in one shot, but prompts them to go to your landing pages, go to your website, and really start to engage and stick with the content that you're offering them. So value of content is a huge kind of what we really recommend for our customers.
Very good. So I've been at these things a few times. I've learned that when Morgan starts to walk around, it's time for me to prompt for some questions. So,
Man, you are so sharp, dude.
you know,
Amazing.
it's amazing. So we have other questions we could go with, but we certainly want to give the audience a chance to ask some questions. We have about 7 minutes. Any
Go for it,
questions?
Phil.
Would you like us to fight? Okay. I am not in favor of testing.
Takes too long.
Right. It takes too long. I want to go home.
Just
Right.
throw it against the wall and see what
That's
sticks.
more money out of my budget
Exactly.
to create different content, buy new images.
Right. Bulk blasting. Good, bad, or ugly.
It's a
Next time we don't go on after them, okay? It's like
it's a CPM business, just more mail.
Email is dead. Discuss.
Send more mail.
All right. Well, one of the things that we're doing with testing, frankly, is the challenge is, you get insights, but you got to make them actionable. And the real, optimal way to do this is in an automated. We all want real time, so we could debate what real time really is. But certainly to be able to get to actions in an automated way. And so let's talk a little bit about what we've done to automate the process, so that it's not one campaign we're testing. It's really a series of ongoing learning that leads us to better beginnings and better programs. And Michael, why don't you jump on that?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, that's one thing we released recently, like last half of last year. We call it winner selection. So it's an automated winner selection you can have based on some criteria. And we're going to add to that over time. But conversion or open or click, I mean, conversion is where I'd focus, but even unsubscribe. But drip campaigns, you can actually have that, so ongoing optimization. So we always recommend at least 2 tracks, and always do a champion challenger and continue to roll from that perspective. We can even do that on your promotional campaigns and do holdouts. So it's something where allocation, 10% on each side, see which one wins, and roll that out. And you're going to see, if you get a better revenue per email on one, you're going to see just that more lift if it holds, throughout the test. So that's where we're building that kind of technology and doing that, where you can just rolling optimization. I always call it the Ron Popeil model. Set it and forget it, It's more set it and optimize, but I mean, it's an opportunity where keep that stuff going automated where you can, and then you give more time to work on other programs and continue to grow that revenue pie.
And we have similar technology that we call Conversation Manager, but it does essentially that. It allows you to plan your sequence of messaging, test, optimize based on conversion. You can use something as simple as an open rate all the way to revenue. So you can tie back revenue to the platform and see which combinations are working the best for you to help drive that ROI at the end of the day.
Great. Is there anything to add from an automation? Have you been starting to take advantage of some of the automation opportunities?
We've been looking into it. We haven't really started it as of yet, but one of the things that we've done from just a testing standpoint is really we've been working very closely with our brand guidelines group to help kind of alleviate some of the stress, to create some of that automation, and as well as make it more flexible for our program managers to actually develop new creative and not be just so templatized in what they're doing in testing, which seems to be a constraint for some larger companies. I don't know if anyone else has felt that pain where it's like you just have that one template and you can't really change it, so you don't feel like you're testing. Is anyone out there? 2, 3, 4. Oh, more hands are popping up. So.
Yeah.
Question.
Yes.
Bradford Johnson, Overstock.com. This is more of a question for Rachel and Eric, I think. How do you determine, because you've talked about you have a testing schedule that you lay out, who can contribute to those testing ideas within your organizations, anywhere in your organizations, and then what is the evaluative process for what actually gets prioritized and who's in that decision making?
Well, for us, I mean, we get it from various departments. We have a RBI department that provides us with the intelligence of consumption of when and where one of our subscribers reads an article. So we take that in consideration. I mean, we use Omniture also for information to pull in, so we can actually create an email that's customized to, for example, diabetes and endocrinologists. If they're at our site and they're reading an article that they arrived through our email, we gather the intelligence that they might have consumed cardiology articles. So in their next email, we're going to include some cardiology content just to create, all right, well, we know that you've done this, so here's more of this. And it's been working for us. I mean, the response metrics for engaging our audience with this type of intelligence, it performs so much better than the people that are just random one article in the last 12 months. You know what I mean?
For me, it's a little bit different. We have professionals, marketing professionals that are kind of campaign managers or program managers or product managers. And so each one, they all have different opinions on what they should test creatively. Sometimes we get involved early they come to me or they come to our brand guidelines group and really help kind of talk them through and talk about best practices. So at the end of the day, they can really make the decisions of what they're going to test or not test, and we can only provide the best information. But we really try to work closely with them to determine what they're trying to do, how they want to do it, what their call to action, and I'm just getting ready to publish a new email process guideline that we have that really talks about focusing on creative testing beyond the subject line. Because right now, I said before, it's a mandatory process for us. Nobody thinks a second thought about it anymore. But how do we get them to move beyond just that subject line testing to really think about what they can do to creatively, especially since we've moved away from this templatized process of you can only send out this kind of email, it has to look exactly like this. What's going to really resonate and really connect with your customer to make that experience more one-to-one? What's gonna change? Is it how you let the copy? Is it the buttons? Is it the images? What can we do to really change it? So we're really trying to work, and it's been a huge collaboration with our group as well as with our brand group to really work with those professionals. And we're going to do things like boot camps and stuff to help prepare them to be better marketers because, again, I was saying before, for us, we've really been told it's more of, from our executives, you can test in any communication channel that you're doing. It's not just email. It's really social, direct, search, anything else that we're doing. So all those people, they're not just managing the deployment of an email, they're managing the whole entire campaign. So think about it in the front end and make it easy on yourself. So I'll let you know how it goes if you have any questions, but it's going to always be, I think, a work in progress for us.
Well, then I have a question for the other three panelists then. Because it seems, and I've heard about this at a lot of organizations and experienced this myself, a lot of these testing ideas, they're up to sort of individuals, and that's fine. But it seems like at a certain amount, you're talking about real money, right? And I'd imagine that there should be some sort of standardized scoring process, an ROI estimate, a prove out, a null hypothesis. One, what do you recommend as best practices for that standardized objective scoring for test proposals and how they're prioritized? And then two, what about this sort of historic legacy? Where is that kept? How often does it need to be retested? When does it sort of devolve into lore rather than, no, this is proven, we're not going to retest this?
Great. I can talk to a little bit of that. What we recommend for our clients is really to engage not only just creative, but also the product team or the merchandising team or services or even sales if you're driving leads to plan, like really what is the purpose for email for that period of time, and then identify primary, secondary, and tertiary so it gets to your scoring. So it really just starts determining like what is the goal for the email. If this is a primary objective for the email channel for this season, then that's going to be a major focus of the email. Other stuff is going to be secondary and tertiary because you always get those people, I'm not meeting my revenue numbers, and all of a sudden they come to me and it's like, I need an email. So we want to avoid that kind of process. And the other thing is then also sharing back results with them. So start showing, here's why we're recommending certain merchandising tactics or certain offers from that perspective because it's based on historical results. So it's something where we actually are keeping that over time and looking from that. I mean, based on your timing you mentioned and how often do you test, I think it really depends. Subject lines could be seasonal, for example. So it might be every season you want to do some testing for those perspectives. But there might be things that might hold from a merchandising in certain levels as well. It depends on a lot of factors. So I don't think I can give you like a solid answer there.
I think Mike brings up a good point. I think establishing the goal of your marketing communications is key to any testing plan that you put into practice. And I think that in and of itself can be difficult because depending on how many different voices you have into your marketing efforts, goals can be different depending on different stakeholders in that email. So what might be a revenue driver for you might not be for another member of your team. So it's important to really iron out what exactly you want as a result from that email campaign, and then use previous results, any future learnings, competitors. There's a lot of services out there that offer competitive data of what your competitors are doing and some inkling on how they're performing, and really bringing all that information together to help score, rate, rank the goals of your email to help then draft your testing policy. And in terms of this creative works, nothing's going to beat it. I don't believe that personally, and really when I talk to clients, I'm always suggesting testing. If you have a champion, always test it with the challenger because you never know what the shifts in consumption might be, right? So what might be working for you, again, seasonally is a great example. What might be working for you in the fall might not be working for you in the spring. So it's a constant battle in terms of testing that champion to help drive those ROI metrics.
Right, and I actually, in terms of frequency, I think we need to get away from the idea that this is an isolated program, then this is an isolated program. I think that everything you do is a test. Because you're going to learn from it, and you're going to take that learning, and you're going to bring it into your next program, and you're going to make it better. And that's where, the opportunity for vendors that are here and the entrepreneurs of the world to create better automation to allow that to happen is there's a real big void there. But it really is a series of learning. And so you're never done testing. You should constantly go in there. And most importantly, do not fall in love with your template because it will get fatigued.
Yeah. Question.
Let's say you're not testing. What are the 3 things that you would schedule for testing first?
I would probably the first thing I would do is test the content, how it's laid out, and the images. Those would be the first 2 things that I would do, and maybe call to action buttons. And if you're not doing subject lines, yes, subject lines too.
I would have to agree there. I mean, there's no one perfect formula, but for us, I mean, content is one of the most important things to test. The big for us too, again, would be to testing it to our mobile audience. I mean, that's something that we're definitely pushing for. And use of call to action, I mean, we're noticing that physicians sometimes don't respond well to having a button as opposed to a text, call to action. So that's something that we're continuously doing. Sometimes they surprise us, sometimes they don't, sometimes, just how it is.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the first thing that came to mind was testing call to action subject line. I mean, again, I think that isn't beyond the basics, but it's testing call to action or subject line. But again, that's not really beyond the basics, but that's pretty basic stuff.
One thing that I found is hugely impactful is just which personalization elements should you actually be including in the email, right? So we spend all this time, oh my gosh, we got to personalize it with first name. Test that. I've never seen it make a difference personally.
To that point, I think another big thing is your testing's great, but if your email doesn't get open, it doesn't mean anything, right? So for me, subject line is a great place to start testing, but also the from display, right? And how your email looks in the inbox to really drive that person to open that message. So if it's your brand name in the from display, if it's a product name, if it's something that's more relevant to the content, helps drive and really forces that person to open.
Right, and actually the other thing I was going to mention would be your list or your segments and testing out, which segments perform best against your messaging.
And we'll cover all the direct marketing bases here and say offer as well is what I was going to say. I mean, the ultimate is going to conversion, whether it's if you're selling something online or you want somebody to download a white paper and call your sales guy. That's the kind of thing is to test those offers. What's going to be for that segment the most effective to get them to take that action?
I just wanted to share my perspective where my team doesn't probably do enough micro testing, subject line, all these ideas. I mean, again, these conferences are great to remind me, like, go back and get back to the basics. And yet, what we spend a lot of time is on, maybe it's attribution, where if a program's even worth doing. Because my team, again, we've got offices around the world, corporates on the hook to give these great programs, and then I have to convince the German office, the Japanese office, the Chinese to put all that time into localizing something versus not doing it. And so what we've been doing lately is we'll have, one example is our software, we have an evaluation online. So as soon as today someone downloads the software, we trigger a next day kind of getting started. Well, now 50% of the people still get that, but then the other 50% get the 7-step automated stream across that whole 30-day period. And it was a whole lot of work to create. And now we're looking at those people that just got the 1 touch versus the people that got the 7, and how much more likely was the group that got the 7 to buy. And it's not like a huge surge, but it is definitely significantly significant enough for us to now say, okay, Japan, okay, China, like, put the energy into it, because they just say, like, oh my God, that's so much work, like 7 steps, what, in 30 days? And so unless we have this pilot, in a sense, they're not believing us. And it's been really cool. Like, that's really the direction our team is heading, to be that much more confident. Kind of what Karen was talking earlier about, like, having this whole pipeline in place and say, sorry, we don't have a place for that, or we already have that covered in this stage of the funnel. And but those are long tests. I'm talking like multiple months, because you need enough data. So, but anyway, this is a good reminder to do both. Like, even within that 7-step, like, do more testing within each step.
I think that's a great test on a B2B especially. I mean, heavy versus light, because one additional sale can be huge dollar amounts that you're going to add to, like, the revenue pool. So it makes sense in that case, and we've done that when we do that with B2B clients, that it's 10,000, 15,000 per sale or even more, right? So I mean, that's great opportunities to test that. It is a longer term test, but when you're talking about those average order values, it's more than worth it.
Right. And actually, some of the short tail tests are pretty interesting. So we have a client that's in the social media space, BloomSpot. They just did a simple test between personalization on gender versus generic. They saw a 35% lift in their click. They saw a significant lift in their ROI. They're still measuring the trailing ROI, but it was significant. And that was just a very short tail test.
Wonderful. Well, I think that's a good wrap on this panel. We are actually at the end of our day. So I want to thank the panelists on testing. Again, another topic, probably a little less contentious than talking about e-pens yes. As you play golf or go on the dolphin cruise. So I want to thank this panel. Thank you.